Hi, I thought today I would come and show you how to make a virtually indestructible spine for your albums. I hate spending hours and hours making a beautiful album and then having the pages rip from the spine. It is so annoying. So if you recall, in one of my other videos, I showed you some beautiful fabrics that I got that matched one of the Stamperia collections. There's a piece of the fabric. Here's a piece of the fabric. There's another piece. That's just a partial piece because I used the rest. Anyway, what I did was, and you can do this with any spine die that you have, I took just my plain old spine die, decided that I would use this die. You don't even have to use a die, actually, just whatever you have, you use it. But the reason that I used a die was because I wanted to have, I don't know if you're able to see, excuse me for shaking everything, but I wanted to be able to see these little X marks because that tells me that those are the hinges for the pages. The very first step was to go and get some light Stamperia 2. This is a double stick light fusible web, and this enabled me to take my beautiful piece of fabric. I turned it over, put it wrong side down, took a piece of the Stamperia, and then it's one side of it has a paper backing, so it's kind of like a huge sticker, and I put it down so the sticky side would be on my fabric. And then once the sticky side was on my fabric, and I'm sorry I used it all, so I don't have any to show you, I just took a piece of copy paper, and this is going to enable me to bond the paper to the fabric. I just took a piece of copy paper right there, and then right here, and I just ironed it on using my iron. It was very easy. Directions are in the package. They recommend pre-washing to remove the sizing. But I was using this nylon fabric and I just didn't do it. Okay, so my next step was I took my die. After everything was all bonded together, I ran it through my machine and I cut out my shape. And like I said, you don't have to use this die. You don't even have to use a die. You just have to be able to score on your paper, on the back of your paper. So the first one I made, I left the fancy edges on, and I think this is oh darn, I can't remember the name, Crafter's Companion, I think, spine die. So if I did it in this direction, I would have white hinges on the inside, but I could have a pretty thing to glue on the outside. Okay, let me hold it that way because it's right side up that way. The uglies would be covered except right through here, so I would need to put like a 1/4 inch of washi tape or something there. But I decided I didn't want to do that. So what I did was I took my spine die and I just cut off the fancy edges. And I cut it out and I folded it up so that my hinges will be, pretty side up, actually like that. And then I will have my edges here that I can just stick between my front covers. So I'll show you how I did that. And of course I glued it all together, and I could have used fabric glue, but I did not use fabric tack. I just used my good old standby art glitter glue. So one thing I might not have made clear was the reason that I used the fabric was not only is it beautiful, but it just gives extra support to the hinges, and they're just not going to rip as easily. Make sure though that you do use a non-pH glue so that it doesn't cause brittleness over time. All right, my next step was I cut out my cover pages. And so I used a die that I had from Tonic Studios. It's my favorite die. It has these nice classic corners. I love that look. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my back page and I'm just going to very carefully lay my spine along that back page, and I'm going to glue it in place. Once that dries, I'm going to come in with my next page, and I'm just going to glue it on top, and that's just going to sandwich my hinge inside, and therefore it should never rip. Okay? And then of course you decorate the book when you're done, but let's go ahead and do that. And let me move this up just a hair so it's in frame. All right, so I'm just going to crease this to be sure that I can see the crease all right. Then I'm going to take my glue. I don't know which glue I feel like using right now. Maybe the Nouveau. We'll keep it Tonic Studios. And I'm just going to put my glue along my spine. And I'm going to glue it to the outside back cover. Because remember, I'm going to have the inside back cover it. Oh, for goodness sake. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm just going to butt this up to my fold line. Excuse me. It's allergy season in the Midwest. Okay, did that. I'm going to let it glue, and I can tell you I accidentally did a boo-boo, but since that's my back page, I don't care. I put the pretty side up. But I am going to cut a piece to cover the back, so yeah, it doesn't matter, it's the back, right? Who cares? All right, so I'm just rubbing that down. Making sure that's going to stay. And then I'm just going to take this one. I'm going to lay it right on top, matching everything. And I'm going to glue that in place. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing for this side. Now on this one, I want to put glue all over everything. And I want to try to get it as close to the edges as possible without going over. And I am sure everybody loves watching glue. I'm being sarcastic in case you didn't know. Hey, if you have a favorite album die, put it in the comments below, because I love albums, and I love the Tonic Studios albums, and I love Crafter's Companion albums. I have one of those, and I just love the Griffin albums. I love them all, so I want to know what everybody's using. All right, I'm just going to flip this over. Oops. Making sure that my notches line up. And they do. And now I have a makeup thing that I got from Dollar Tree that's kind of like a brayer, and I use it as a brayer, but I don't know if I can find it. I don't think I can find it. All right, so if I had a brayer, I would definitely go over this with the brayer just to smooth that glue down and to make sure that it adheres nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repeat that for the cover of my book. Only I'm going to take care this time that I have my pretty side out. And by pretty side, I mean the side that looks nicer when you cut it. And then I will have my other pretty side toward the inside. And I'm going to sandwich, once again, this edge part in between the two. And then I'll be right back. I mentioned this or not, but once you have your fabric, you just run it through the dye machine. This is a nylon fabric, so I did have to cut it with scissors. Okay, once my book is together, I need to do something about this. So what I did was I measured how big my spine was. Just took a ruler, laid it across, and measured it. And then I cut a piece of 110-pound cardstock that would fit. My spine measures 1.5 inches across. So I cut another piece of fabric that I want for the bottom of my spine. See, that'll be pretty. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these edges. Probably cut these at an angle first though, and then I'll glue in the other edges. Not quite sure how I'll do that. I hear you screaming, don't do that. Okay, how about if I do this? And see, this is just, once again, this is just copy paper that I ironed on to my fabric. Right, so I'm just going to put this in the middle and glue it in place. Once this is done, then I'm just going to set this aside and I'm going to work on the pages. This should really be glued in once the pages are in. It just is a lot easier. And I'm just going to glue it right along the back of the spine. And I did fold up where I wanted it just so I could kind of see. All right. Laying it down, giving it a good press. Once again, if you don't have a messy area like me, you can probably find your tools. But I live in a cluttered space, so what the heck, right? I'm going to fold that down. I'll do that here as well. If you want to, you could get glue all the way out to the edges, I guess. That's going to be so pretty, see? All right, now I'm just going to fold up the sides. You can use your bone folder to crease it. I'll just use this tool. This is actually something that cuts paper, and I'm just using the back end of it. Okay. And I'm just going to cut my edges. I'm going to come over here to this side. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just giving it a real hardy crease. And I'm just going to cut the edges. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put glue on everything. And glue this puppy up. I did have 2 pieces of cardboard, not cardboard, 110-pound cardstock cut for this, but I lost one of them because I didn't make this video when I thought I was going to make it. So 2 pieces would be a much better choice for stabilizing. Press into place. Press into place. And there is my spine. And I think it is absolutely gorgeous. And once I got my pages in, I'm just going to glue it right over the top. And hopefully everything will fit. If it doesn't, then I will just, oh, it's not going to. I will just make it so that it will. And then I can do that right now by just peeling this off. I think I measured 1/4 of an inch too big, actually. Let me measure my spine again. And it measures, yep, 1 1/4. So this is 1/4 inch too big. So what I'm going to have to do is come back, cut off 1/4 inch, and then just re-glue. Oh, which will give me a chance to find my second piece of cardboard, or not cardboard, cardstock, and just make it that much thicker. See, this is very forgiving. And I still have my paper backing. All right, I'm going to work on that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have cut this down. I have put 2 pieces of 110-pound cardstock inside, and I've just folded it over and glued it in place, and I'm going to set that aside. And now we're going to work on our pages. Whoops. Sorry, I have to do the inside front cover first. I forgot to do that, my mistake. So I'm just going to line up. If you see this die has notches in it, I'm just going to line up my notches with each other. And then it should just lie smoothly in place, or lay smoothly in place. Forgive the poor grammar. So I'm just going to glue this, put it down, I'll be right back. Front and back cover are now glued into place. For my pages, I just took one of the basic shape pages, and I cut it down to be smaller because I don't want it to protrude from the book at all. And sometimes I have a little bit of an issue with my pages. So as you see, this is actually a layering die. So this is a mistake, and I need to go back and cut pages because I can use this for something else. This is the die that I'm going to use for my pages. This edge is a non-cutting edge, but it will make a line on the paper. And so when I cut my paper out, I'm going to see exactly where I want to trim it because I want it to be that depth. And then it is smaller. See how it's a lot smaller? But that's okay because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down. I'm going to measure, I think I have a 1/2 inch spine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my paper comes out from this edge to here will be a 1/2 inch. And then I will just lay it on top. I will cut down my spine so that it matches, and I don't like that. So I'm not going to do that. Hang on while I reconsider my options. I'll now glue in my pages. I just went ahead and cut from the cover piece page, and then I lined it up. Remember, I showed you the notches, and so then I just cut down the notch. What I'm going to have to do first, though, is angle these a little bit. These are just going to make it so that my pages fit a little bit better. So I'm just angling my hinges. And I'm not going to make any of these into pocket pages because I really don't like pocket pages. You know, when you do a pocket page and you just put glue on the edges, it kind of makes the page weaker. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to glue my pages together front to back like a board book. So I'm taking my hinge, I'm taking my page, and I'm just lining it up at the top of this page because I don't want anything to peek over. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on my hinge. And you could use a fabric tack if you wanted. I'm just choosing to use my Nouveau because I rather like it. Okay, so I am just lining up my pages, making sure that there's no overhang at the top or the bottom. Just sticking it in, and then I'm just going to press this down. I'm going to hold it in place a little bit. I want everything lined up. And then I'll come in with the other side of the page, and I will just glue it to everything. And I will match it up, and I will glue that down. And I'm so sorry that you have to watch me glue, but I might just edit the gluing out. Or I might keep it in, I don't know. As you can see, I am using quite a bit of glue. Because I want everything to adhere well. I don't want any lifting or anything like that. And I think I have 2 pages here, which I did. Okay. And I'm just going to lift this up, match my notches, match my edges, lay it back down gently, rub the glue off my fingers before I apply pressure to this. Just applying pressure. And then I'm going to continue that way with each page. So this is the nice side, so I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to line it up with the page below it. And I'm going to just adhere that. And then I'll come in with my top part, lining everything up. And I will adhere that down. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere all my pages in the book. I decided to go ahead and make one of my pages with a little flip that'll come up. And so all I did was I created a hinge. It's 1 inch wide, scored it at 1/2 inch, lined it up with the top, and glued it on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to center it on my page as best I can. And then I'm just going to glue that right in place on top of it, and then it'll also flip up. And then, of course, you know, when I get ready to decorate, I can decorate it with my beautiful pattern papers that I'm going to use for this. So here I go. I'm hoping I'm not doing very well. I'm just lining it up. I think I did it. There we go. Just going to press it in place. And then once I put my base papers on it, it'll look very nice. As you can see, I went ahead and I put on my cover page, and I think I'm going to also put on a piece of lace down the side of it. But here is the spine. I just took my page is still drying, that's why it's bubbling. I need to hold it down. But I put on my spine, and as you can see, it fit nicely. And I just have to do the back page, and then I'm going to decorate my inside pages. There's my flip that I did. I might do a pocket. I'm not sure. I'm not really keen on them. You know, just a half pocket page. We'll see what comes up with this. But I will do a flip through of it as soon as I get it decorated. So I finished my mini album. I've decorated it now. And I ended up using a different piece of lace. I had this lace that I had bought off of AliExpress, I believe. And I thought it was pretty, so I just cut down one side. And then I glued it to the side of my book. And I liked it. I thought it was pretty. Actually, I glued it more out. And then when I was looking for stuff, I just happened to accidentally flop the other lace down. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, I like that even better. And so I just went ahead and I took the second piece of lace, kind of staggered it over the first, glued it down, and then just used anchor points of glue in the back to hold that down. And then I didn't like the fact that, of course, you know, the center of my lace is off from the center of my spine. So I just took these little bows that I'd gotten at Hobby Lobby, and I just hot glued them down. Well, I didn't hot glue them. I used my Tonic Studios glue, my Nouveau. Glued them down. And so this way, what it does is it makes the spine so that nothing's pulling on anything. So my book can be a lay flat book. There's a lot of give in that spine because I just have the anchor points there. It is totally glued down here. And then I just have the anchor points where the little bows are. For the front of my book, I just used 4 pink pearls, 3 green pearls. And then I had some ephemera that matched the paper pack, the Stamperia paper pack. And so I used the chipboard cutouts and I just raised them up on foam dots. The look I was going for is I just kind of wanted the cover to melt into itself. I don't know how to describe it better than that. It's a very simple album, nothing fancy to it at all. Once again, I just used cutouts to decorate here and there. But the paper is so beautiful that you really don't need to do anything. This is another piece of ephemera, and this is cut apart from the paper pack. This is just a very simple flip page, and I just did this using the layering dies that were included. This is a very simple waterfall, and I just used the layering dies. Just used a smaller one, scored at the top, and glued it down. And then I said that I wasn't so sure I was going to do a pocket. Well, I decided that maybe I would do a pocket, so I did one. This is another piece of ephemera. I love the fact that she was sitting and I could sit her right on top of this perfume bottle. I thought that was just funny. And then I have lots of places for journaling. This was, once again, part of the paper pack. I could put a panel on the back of the card and journal on it, or I could do a picture, whatever I want, stick something in there, I don't know. And then here's a couple more little journaling spots. When I made my pocket here, what I made sure I wanted to do was to fold over the edge, because you really want to have a little bit of strength here because you're sliding things in and out of there all the time. And then the very last thing I did was I just made a little booklet, once again, right out of the layering pieces. And this I could either, you know, glue to a page if I want, or I can just stick it in here, you know, make it another pull-out. Just whatever you want to do with it, you can do with it. If I wanted a closure on this, I would probably use a piece of white ribbon. But I don't think I really need a piece of I don't think I need anything to use as a closure on this book. I think it's really gorgeous the way it is. Stays closed nicely. It's a good book. So anyway, the best part of this book is the fact that my pages are not going to just rip out easily. when my book gets older. It should be around for my grandkids, and I'm hoping it'll be around for my great-grandkids. I have a book that my mother's mother made when she was a young girl, and that was probably, golly, my mom was born in 1916, so she was probably born in the 1800s. And it's just a fun book that she made using a scrapbook that she had made using magazine pictures and writing some little stories. It was really wonderful, and I'd like to be able to pass something like that on to my great-grandkids too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Please give my video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you very much. Bye.